Ever get that feeling, like your emotions are kind of all over the place? And maybe, just maybe, it's affecting more than just your mood.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, buckle up, because we're going deep on this one.
Yeah.
Diving into how our heart, and I don't just mean the physical one, connects to our spiritual journey.
Right.
We're looking at a text today, and it's coming from a pretty unique cultural angle. Might surprise you.
It's fascinating, really. We're looking at this excerpt, right? And it puts the heart, like the core of who we are, right at the center of spiritual success.
The heart of it all.
Exactly. It's like one piece of a huge puzzle. But this piece, it offers a really unique perspective on the journey,
Yeah, and one thing that really jumped out at me from the get-go was this idea that the heart is like the root of life. Powerful image, right?
Very powerful.
The source is saying everything we do, all our actions, all the choices we make, they all stem from this one central point.
Yeah.
Made me wonder, how does that line up with how we think today? Putting so much emphasis on logic and the mind and reason.
It's a good question. It really challenges us to think differently. This text, it kind of pushes back against this idea that the mind and heart are like fighting each other.
At war.
Yeah, like at war. It's saying our inner state, what's going on in our hearts, it directly impacts the path we're on. Not just out in the world, but spiritually too. So if the heart's the root, then taking care of it, really nurturing its well-being, that becomes super important for us to grow in every sense.
And speaking of nurturing, the source really emphasizes this idea of cultivating a good heart.
Right.
A pure heart.
Yeah.
It even mentions a heart of Christ.
Interesting.
It's powerful language, isn't it?
It is.
It makes you think. When you hear those phrases, thinking about your own journey, what comes up?
Well, I think what this text is doing is it's going deeper than just being nice. Right. It's connecting these qualities like goodness and purity to the actions we take. Aligning your life with something bigger than yourself.
A greater purpose.
Yeah, exactly. And for this specific source, that purpose comes from a particular religious context.
Of course.
But even taking that aside, what it's highlighting is this idea that the goodness inside us, it naturally flows outward. It leads us to do positive things, and it fuels our spiritual growth.
Makes sense. Okay, but what about those times when we're not feeling so, pure or good?
Yeah, yeah.
Because the source doesn't shy away from what we might call the shadow side. All those negative emotions. Fear, worry, resentment. Haven't we all been there?
We have. We've all felt those.
So I'm curious, how does the source deal with those less than ideal feelings? And how do they fit into this whole idea of the heart as the root?
You've hit the nail on the head. This text, it doesn't try to sugarcoat things.
Oh.
It straight up addresses these emotions, not just as like fleeting moods, but as things that could actually get in the way of our spiritual growth. Obstacles, yeah. Like fear, for example. It's described as a veil over the heart, almost blinding us from seeing our true path.
Oh, wow.
And then you've got doubt, which is compared to like a crack in the foundation, weakening us, making us less resilient.
Interesting.
It's not about pretending these feelings don't exist, but more about understanding how much they can affect us,
And it gets even more intense because the source actually says that if we let those negative desires run wild, they can end up controlling us.
Wow.
Leading to ruin. That's some serious stuff. So I'm really wondering, does that resonate with you at all? Is it a bit too much, or do you think there's some truth to it?
Well, I think the language is definitely strong.
It is.
And it's important to keep in mind that this is just one perspective,
Right.
from a specific time and place. But for me, the takeaway is this. Negativity, if you don't keep it in check, it can become this really powerful force in our lives. It can shape the choices we make and even the direction we go in.
So then how do we deal with that? Let's talk solutions.
Yeah.
If we're trying to cultivate this pure heart, this healthy root, how do we get there? What kind of gardening tools does the source give us?
Well, there's this interesting analogy the text uses. It compares purifying the heart to road repair.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. And it's this idea of continuous effort, consistent upkeep.
Always working on it.
Exactly. It really emphasizes practices like prayer and studying scripture, but specifically within its own faith tradition. I think it's important to remember that.
Right.
What works for one person might not work for another.
Yeah.
The main message is that cultivating inner peace and goodness, it's an ongoing thing, it's a journey.
And here's where it gets really interesting, because the source specifically calls out women, saying their hearts are more vulnerable, more susceptible to outside influence.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts on that?
It's definitely interesting, and it really makes you think about the cultural context, and the historical perspective.
Right.
The text uses this red bean porridge analogy.
Okay.
I know. Bear with me here.
Yeah.
But it's basically to highlight this idea that women need to be steadfast in their faith.
Mm-hmm.
It's suggesting that they need this strong inner compass to navigate all the external pressures and hold on to their spiritual grounding.
So to kind of sum it all up, we've looked at this really unique perspective on the importance of the heart in our spiritual journey.
Right.
Goodness, purity, positive intention. Those are the key ingredients for a thriving, healthy heart root, at least according to this text.
Right.
But of course, it's just one piece of the puzzle.
It is. It's just one piece.
So much more to explore.
Exactly. And as we wrap up here, I wanted to leave you with something to think about. If we really take this idea seriously, that our hearts really do influence our path, even in a small way.
Yeah.
What's one tiny step you can take today that feels right for you, something that resonates with your values, to nurture a little more goodness or purity inside? Something to ponder.
Food for thought.
It is.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
Thanks for having me.
Until next time.
See ya.
呼唤神，呼唤神灵，说出自己的状况。如果落水被冲到某个地方，要发出声音，求救，这样寻找的人才能快速且轻易地找到你。